Look, it was satisfying that we dug in, but it wasn't satisfying the way we played. You know, as I keep saying, I think if we don't let the scoreboard dictate what we do, but they played pretty well, to be fair on them. I thought they were very, very industrious. I don't think we played that very well, but satisfied to say that, you know, we got a win away. And when you looked over their last year's performances, they got a significant amount of games at home. So we feel that, you know, the days are gone where you go to Italy expecting. I think you know, we look at the World Cup and I thought they did really well against Australia. They did, and I think the days are gone, which is great for rugby, but it's hard to go and, you know, take the points. So we look at ourselves and say we're happy with the result, but not the performance.
A lot of youngsters digging out a win away from home. That's a good habit to get into.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, it's you know, it's a good effort considering that we haven't got a foreigner on our books, and you know, I think that the more we get the kids exposed to that, the better it is. You know, and names that we don't know now, you may know in the future, and it gives them opportunity to, you know, showcase their wares, and that's what we want.
Scott, can you give a bit of an update on Richard Bird and Rugby and where they are in terms of their injuries?
Both there or thereabouts. They're not too far off. We've got a couple of tough weeks with, you know, short turnarounds. We're going to manage this pretty well. Both are subject to a couple of things that are occurring today. We'll be a bit clearer after this morning, but both have made significant signs of improvement. Hibbs, in actual fact, was ready to play 2 weeks ago, but is just out on the pitch and had a reoccurrence of another injury. So we're erring on caution at the moment, rather than it's a long year ahead of us, and there's a lot of rugby to be played. So we'll err on caution until we get it right. But both are not far off, and
yeah.
maybe.
But not this weekend
Maybe
either.
we may have a look. We're looking at this as very much. We've got to make sure that we balance this right, because we've got a Sunday, Friday turnaround.
Yeah.
So we've got to be a bit careful with all that. So we've got to do a bit diligent. We're going to be a bit diligent in how the players are sitting. So they're out doing some stuff now. I'll be a bit clearer in a couple of hours, really.
Is this again because of the turnaround? You make a few changes, you put some people in, or because?
No, it's not just it. We're going to be cognizant of the fact that it is a short turnaround, and where the players are, we're going to make sure that we balance our squad off with that we have. So we'll have to make sure a clear look at how everyone's pulled up. It was very warm on the weekend, to say the least, and we'll just make sure we've got some testings to occur now, and we'll see everyone's pulled up, and then we'll be clearer. But we're probably happy with you know, the younger ones, and we're keen to get them, a few of them, some run-out games, which is good, and we need it for the organisation going forward. We need to be clear, and we need to be. It gives us a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for people that to see kids when they start their careers, not when they're in the highlight of them. And I think it's a great opportunity to get out there and see young blokes that probably 3 or 4 years time we might be talking about.
Does that mean we might see the likes of Matthew Morgan starting this weekend?
Not necessarily. We'll certainly get him. He'll be getting more and more game time. It hasn't worked as exactly how we had planned, but Daniel's kicking's been impeccable. And you know, when you haven't got a clear-cut scoreboard in front of you, and the kid's doing really well kicking the points over, sometimes you just got to bear with it. But he'll get his game time. He will, and when we'll see.
James Hook, Scott, is seen as not able to take a further part in the tournament in the World Cup. Have you had any indication that perhaps a couple of boys here on Stanley as possible replacement?
No. I mean, there's a standby list, but we haven't spoken to him regarding James Hook's lack of involvement. I don't know what the update with that. It's not looking good. If James Hook's come off the field, trust me, James Hook will be very lucky to play in the league. He's a tough kid, and he is a tough kid. So for him to leave the pitch, we tell you there is something substantial, you know. So unless it's just a precautionary measure, but let's be fair on James. James is no malingerer, that's for sure.
With the likes of, say, Daniel, as you mentioned, or something like Andrew Bishop as an option in the centre.
It'd be very difficult for, say, Daniel, who hadn't been involved in there original squad. I think they made the call on Daniel fairly early. I don't know what they're looking at and how they view hooky. I think they've got Stephen and Reece there. I don't think they might be looking at hooky maybe as a back three player, you know. So it depends what they view it. I think they've got enough tens in their squad, I think, and it'll be interesting. I don't know exactly how they'll replace whether they go to a back three player, but that appears to be where they've, despite earlier suggestions of otherwise, it's a period to see hooky as a 15, don't they?
Just looking obviously to World Cup again, the signing you have made Khan at scrum half, it's going to be a great competition at 9 when he does join you.
Yeah, look, to be fair, let's be clear with the signing of Khan. We viewed, when we lost Mike, and we're really, really happy with the development of Reece. I think he's played terrific. What we didn't want to do was inhibit that growth either. It was important we signed a player that can play a multitude of positions. Khan, people forget, actually plays 9, 10 and 12. So he plays 10 for his province. He plays 9 as well. We lost hooky, and so we needed cover right across the board. So he wasn't just viewed as a 9, and it was viewed as versatility. That's why we went to him, and we don't want to inhibit a growth of Reece, but I want to keep him honest to know that he has to keep playing well.
You must have been impressed with what you've seen so far.
Of Reece?
Of Reece and Khan out there as well.
Look, we knew what we got with Khan. We did some research. We like him as a person. The research come back positive. Yeah, and I like the fact he is a late bloomer. Missed a young system. All Blacks missed somebody there, and by their own admission they missed somebody, which is good for us. Not so good for his career, but you know, and he's a wonderful competitor. Really happy with the development of Reece as well. I think if Reece continues the way he's improved, you know, it's not too far off him knocking on the door for a Test jersey, and that'll be good for him.
This period where you've got all these games at home, you've won the one that was away. Is that just a great opportunity, or is that a bit of pressure that you'd expect to be 5 from 5?
I don't know about 5 from 5. I think, yeah, but look, I don't look at it like that. I think that you don't win all your home games every year. No one does, really. And I think we talk about home ground advantage. I mean, we do the same thing every year, really. So it's not like this home ground advantage in the north never ceases to amaze me. It does. I mean, we're not flying to South Africa to play. I mean, realistically, what's an away game and a home game here? An hour's flight. Like, let's get in. So it shouldn't matter. What we matter is the fact that we want to perform well in front of our people. That's what we want to do, and we want to get the people there. That's what we want. And so I don't get caught up in that. I think that, you know, through the year you'll win, you'll lose. That's the way it goes. You just got to make sure that your performances are good. And if we get a good support base there, we like being at home. We do. Everyone does. But I think we make too much of it too from our winning and loss ratio too, because we're up against a formidable opposition. Ulster's in good form too, so I'm not coming here expecting and they're not coming just thinking, oh, it's away. They're coming here to play, and conversely, when we go up there, we're not thinking, oh, this is a hard one to win. We're thinking, we can win this. So, you know, two competitive sides, and that's a good thing.
What do you make of Ulster's start this season?
Pretty good, isn't it? And then had a good year last year. I think they've bought well in the market. I think the introduction of Jared Payne's been a good acquisition. He's a versatile player, and he was very, very good in the Super 15 this year, and probably sees himself as somewhat unlucky not to be in the All Black 30. But so I think that's a good acquisition. I think their form's been impeccable, hasn't it? 3 from 3, and so they've done well. But they too are missing a few, not as many as us, but they're missing a few. But like us, they'll unearth some really good talented players that right at the moment aren't household names, but in the near future will be. So it'll be good.
Some of those guys stepped up, like Craig Gilroy, for example. What have you made of his progress?
Oh, I think he's been fantastic, hasn't he? I mean, you look, like I say, it's really, when you look back, whether you guys are reporters, you know, I'm rugby players, I'm a rugby person, nothing's better than seeing a kid start his career. You know, like you see them, you remember them do things, and then all of a sudden we're talking about in the latter part, but we all forget the start. I think there's so much thrill about seeing a kid develop. You sit there and go, oh, I remember, I was there when he first ran on, you know. And it doesn't matter. I remember the first time I saw George Gregan play, you know, you sit there and go, everyone sees the 130 odd caps or whatever. But I remember seeing him play in his early part of the career, and we're all discussing, how far could this kid go? And then you see the end. I mean, it's always a thrill. It's just as big a thrill to see them as in their glory as it is at the start, I feel. And so that's why I think it's a great opportunity for the supporters to get out there and view it this time, because you're going to see the start of people's careers, and I think that's fantastic.
Do you see Ulster Scott as a real genuine threat for the title this year? Because obviously it's been almost like familiar faces over the last few years with Munster, Leinster, yourselves challenging for the title. But with the recruitment they've had over the last 2 years, and people like Pina coming in, do you see them as genuine title contenders?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think they're one of the teams to beat. I think they're. There's no doubt about it. They've bought well. They've got some good young talent coming through as well to support that. You know, and when a forward comes and the South African Accord are there, I think they'll be as good as anyone.
So, what significance does this game have in terms of that? Then, in terms of where you will be at the end of the season?
Well, I think for both sides, it's a game you'd like to get the psychological blow on each other, especially in the fact that you can't control the destiny of your elite players through injury or anything. So you want to make sure that you're representing the younger group. So if there is replacements coming through, everyone's seen them do it before. So it's not like oh, they're down or anything. It's like, well, we're good enough here. And you know, we feel it was an important year for this club in the fact that, you know, with the charter that's been signed with the governing body, with the changes of the game, the competition, and the competitive throws across the pond, if you like, I think that for Welsh rugby, we need to solidify our place here a little bit and make sure that we understand what's in our litter. And I think it's really important this year for most organisations to see where they sit, because the game's changed us, the world has changed us.
Just overall, just looking from a sort of, again, a World Cup perspective, but from the Northern Hemisphere, seen Ireland beat Australia, I don't want to...
I won a lot of money in that.
That's the ground. The potential of there being a sort of Northern Hemisphere half and a Southern Hemisphere half. What's the potential boost and interest, and what does it say about the level of the game here?
Look, I think it's twofold. I think I keep saying the world's got a lot closer. People forget that. The world has got a lot closer. I remember when I was here in early 2000, there was a big golf, and golf was largely fitness. That's what the golf was. It wasn't skill set, it was fitness. And out of that comes a belief. And I think over that time, we've genuinely closed the gap. We've closed the gap as a nation. Where we probably haven't closed the gap so much is if you have a look at it from a regional perspective. A lot of the sides we play are as good as international sides in regard to, they've got so much diversity within their group, especially the big French clubs. But if you're talking from an international, I don't think there's much between their sides. What brings the golf a little closer is the fact New Zealand is very much Northern Hemisphere type weather, climate and the like. So it actually brings it back into play. As soon as I saw the weather for the weekend's game, Ireland, Australia, I thought, this is not going to suit the boys at all. It is just not. But it would breathe life into somebody else, and hence it was Ireland. So sometimes if it was based in Australia, it was a fast-running game, maybe the difference then gets accentuated. And conversely, when we come to the north, the Southern Hemisphere struggle with different climatic differences. So I think the World Cup this year has brought everyone together because the circumstances are largely Northern Hemisphere, and that's a good thing. I think it's not so great for the South, but it's brought everyone closer a little bit. In the differences are not so apparent, the styles and that, they're not so apparent. So I think it's brought everyone a little closer, but it adds for entertainment, doesn't it? I mean, that's what it's about, and I think it's, we want a world game, we do, and I think, the Welsh boys, with a little bit of their construction, a little bit of someone else's destruction, I think that little avenues have opened up, and we're going to be proud of where we are, and we're going to be looking that we're competitive in this time. And I always felt our Welsh country could win a World Cup at some stage, and I do believe that. And I think we've got to stop thinking so negatively that we can't do it. We can do this. We can.